can be supported and maintained. Um, so if anyone talks to him, let him know to give Saphir and I a shout. And yeah, and then I think probably at some point we should try to go through and figure out what are all the infrastructure points, like who has access to the GitHub, is who has access to the GitHub aside from Garrett in the Tangle Pay team. Same with the website. It looks like Bill Poster, you got access to Twitter. Is that correct? Okay, perfect. Okay, and are you a whatever you call it, a super admin in the Discord, or is it just Garrett or Saphir at this time? Okay, Saphir, do you have access to the main one?
No, I believe someone else set up the Twitter, or sorry, the Discord and transferred it, I believe, to Garrett as the main owner.
Okay.
We are both admins.
Okay, so we should at least look at those things. I can't remember if Discord it's just one owner or you could have multiple owners on it, aside from the admin. Um, okay. So, and I got a little busy this week with some personal business stuff. But did we? Let's see. So we still need to do the total breakdown. I did jump on Binance a little bit and was trying to kind of see, how much was in there. I couldn't personally find it. I did see like the token creation and the 1 billion token supply, but I couldn't see like how much was in that wallet. So I don't know if anyone can take a look at that for the TAN tokens. I'm just curious to find that wallet so that we can, create an alert on it and just kind of keep an eye on it and then see what the, yeah, just to have transparency. We did get out the spreadsheet and then I think I was looking at, from that wallet, can we pull out whatever the 80% that should be left is, and then break that down into the 5 year, and then we can start looking at the how much wants to be front loaded. So again, that may be a question for Garrett, and I think once we have that, then we can kind of give a better breakdown of what's the airdrop, what's going to be used in the first year, and maybe that'll help people make a better decision. So I don't know if we can come up with that earlier in the week, but if we can just try. Saphir, you didn't happen to reach out to DLT Green by chance, did you?
No, that's on hold until we can get more of these technical details. So I'd like to take Garrett on that one as well, just because he's got some follow-up questions with the
That
network
makes sense.
that
Makes sense. Okay. Congressman is process allowing community members to post on Twitter. Okay, so we got that set up. Bill Poster now has access to Twitter, and I've seen you've been posting, which is excellent. Probably same thing with Sooniverse is, we need to get some more of these technical questions answered. Did we kind of say that it would be good to have EVM integration, or just kind of, again, see how the network kicks off and then kind of look at more of the short-term goals at that point?
So based on some follow-up question or conversations that I know, like we had, JD as well as with Edward, I get the impression that we might be able to proceed and get some short-term wins on the L1 before ramping into an EVM-based approach. It sounds like with some open source libraries available and opportunities that present themselves, L1 would be possible to start with. And if you were to give me kind of decision-making power off the information available now, I would say we've got some short-term opportunities in L1 we should prioritize before ramping into EVM, so then that way we can get some traction with users on the network.
Yeah, that's right. And I was also thinking, I mean, since we are on BSC, we could essentially, that is EVM. So we could use, I believe, BSC smart tokens like that can be used in different dApps that are EVM compatible, I think. So it's not necessarily like we can at all not use sort of EVM integrations such as like the multi-sig, which, we can use. And then it kind of made me think after that discussion that like, how much effort was truly put into Shimmer to show, hey, we have essentially a feeless L1 and, there's benefits in that over something like EVM. And, I think the IF kind of just, as they do, quickly pivot to kind of what the catchy thing is to get sort of to keep kind of maybe interest or financial interest or token price appreciation. So, I think it would be great if at least on the first steps to try to get some stuff going on L1 and then show the benefits of that. And what we might see is, hey, wow, no one's actually doing this, and it does have much benefit over EVM in certain cases, and that could really lead to some extreme growth.
I'd like to just mention, I agree with that notion. I think one of the things that always confused me about IOTA's approach with the EVM is as you say, getting on the bandwagon of the latest thing. Not necessarily the greatest thing, but the latest thing. And so IOTA suddenly had 2 networks, and then 4, and then 6, and it made little sense to me why they would do that, because the EVM is the opposite of what the Tangle is. It's not as performant and it's not free. And I think if we go down that same path, if TAN goes down the same path, it might be perceived to have the same personality problems, multiple personality disorder that IOTA has in the market. I think if new functionality is required, it's worth working out how to make it work in the network, rather than go, well, here's a whole separate network called the same thing, and it's totally the same.
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, it's at least worth a shot. And like you've said before, then all of a sudden there's something to do with the token, especially in the short term versus, getting a fully TAN EVM integration, I think is going to certainly take time and funds, so, and it may not even be needed. Who knows, maybe in the time, somehow, we don't know the future. There could be someone that says, hey, we can put smart contracts on L1, who knows? But I think at least maybe a better short-term vision would be, focus on L1 dApps to get, again, some activity with the tokenomics. If anyone disagrees, let me know. Otherwise, we'll just kind of adjust this, and we can just be fluid with it, as things progress, then all of a sudden maybe new kind of priorities and focuses kind of come up.
Yeah, for my part, just for context of what I'm doing with Shimmer L1 at this moment, the MMO that I'm producing, TRAPPIST-1, is going to be running on the Shimmer network, Shimmer L1 network, and the way we're doing that is writing what would ordinarily be called smart contracts just in Python, and having a back end that will respond to requests coming from the client. That isn't necessarily a long-term solution for an open source, transparent world where smart contracts code is visible to everybody, because the Python code is not visible and it's not transparent. But it absolutely works. And it is a solution that's available now. And not everybody requires or demands open source smart contracts. There are plenty of reasons to have them. But when you're talking about gaming, I don't think anybody expects games to be open source. I think the internal machinations of the game are not expected to be open source. As long as the result is that the player gets the NFT or the crafted item expected and the transaction goes through properly, I don't think the fact that the transaction is not an open source piece of code is going to upset people, at least in the gaming world. Again, I'm only speaking in the gaming world. Other things like DeFi, etc., probably require a lot more transparency. But just for context, that's how I'm leading the team with the TRAPPIST-1 MMO. All the on-chain transactions will be managed with proprietary code on a Python server.
And that's it. You know, I'm always about, you know, rather than trying to shoot something down without actually trying it, what's the harm in trying something? And I think, you know, there's been many times that we've seen in the IF community where things just get shot down without even giving it a shot, you know, and moving on to the next thing. And then, you know, again, to have a open network that all the community can just have access to and build on, you know, I think is a great thing, because then you get multiple different people, different individuals, different resources, building things and seeing what works and what doesn't work, rather than kind of keeping it gatekept and centralized. And I do think,
also, it's worth noting that, I was just going to say, also it's worth noting that the approach that we're taking and having the code, what would be maybe sometimes be smart contracts being running on a Python server, that's very possible right now on all the servers anyway, right? It's already possible to do this on IOTA EVM or Rebased or Shima Layer 1. You don't, a smart contract is beneficial sometimes, but it's not always required. And it would not, I don't think it would be the case to think that that every transaction happening on all of these, all the IOTA networks are through an open source smart contract. So I think the lack of the ability to add open source smart contracts to the network is not a reason to delay going live, and I don't think it's a reason to follow the same